Alright guys, so at Central High we like to do these things called old schools, which is basically just like old school math, like things that from the past that you should still know and that we really need you to be proficient in. So each 6 weeks their topics are going to change and you're going to take these little quizzes maybe once or twice a week. They're very short and sweet just to make sure you remember some old math. So the first old school this 6 weeks is going to be over fractions and it's going to be over solving equations. So let's do a couple of examples just to remember how to do this. Remember whenever you're multiplying fractions, it really is just top times top and bottom times bottom. So 3 over 18, which is the same thing as 1/6. So hopefully everybody remembers how to reduce and stuff. If you are dividing fractions, the rule for dividing fractions is your first step is to flip the second fraction and multiply. So a little rhyme I used to say is when dividing fractions, don't ask why, flip the second and multiply. So you literally just like change this to a times and then you do the reciprocal over here. You flip this fraction and then we can do top times top, bottom times bottom. 12 over 15 reduces to, what is that, 4/5, I believe? So that's all you're doing there. Okay, what about adding and subtracting fractions? This is usually where things fall apart quickly. All right, when you are adding or subtracting fractions, your first step is a common denominator. So you want to look down here and find a number that both of those go into. Well, what do 3 and 6 both go into? Well, they both go into 6. So the common denominator is going to be 6. And on this one, you just ask yourself, well, how did I turn this 3 into a 6? Well, what I did was I multiplied by 2. So if I multiply the bottom by 2, I have to multiply the top by 2. So make sure that you are fair with what you do. Now on this one, this 6 just stayed a 6. So I don't have to multiply it by anything, so I can just recopy that 5. Once you've done that, you can add or subtract your numerators. In this case, it's adding. 4 plus 5 is 9. And then you recopy the 6 on the bottom. Now if this reduces, reduce it. There we go. But we do like improper fractions. You guys, you don't need to turn it into a mixed number, so you can leave it improper. All right, so there's fractions in a nutshell. All right, so what about solving equations? So you're also going to be responsible for, something like this. All right, so when solving an equation, the idea is to isolate x. But in order to isolate x, a lot of times you have to gather all the x's on one side. So the first step is always to distribute if you see it. So distributing, I'm just going to do 2 times x plus 2 times 1. And then I've got a minus 2 on the back side. And then x plus 5. So my next step, before I start moving people across the equals, I always like to clean up each side. So in other words, if there's anywhere that you can combine like terms, do that now. So I've got a positive 2 minus 2. Well, those just go away, peeps, and all that's left is a 2x over here. On this side, we have an x plus 5. Now, you probably, hopefully, remember from here, the goal is to get x on one side. So I always like my variables on the left, so I'm going to say minus this x to move it over. Remember, when you're going across the equals, you do the opposite operation. So subtract x, subtract x. So 2x minus x is x. Recopy my equals. X minus x, those are gone, and bring down my 5. So that's it. That's it. I just had to get x by itself, so I get an x equals 5. So there's plenty of examples and more kinds of problems like this, but this is just to get you started, just to refresh your memory so that when you take the first old school, you have some idea of what's going to happen. Thank you so much.